Welcome back. You're watching To The Point. After today's voting, the big contest on the horizon is the election in Varanasi. Many believe that if Narendra Modi loses, it could damage his hopes of becoming Prime Minister. But has Congress put up the best fight it could? Or is the party guilty of giving Narendra Modi a soft opponent? Joining me to answer that question is the External Affairs Minister and one of the two top ministers taking care of Varanasi, Salman Khurshid. Salman Khurshid, let's start with Varanasi. Why has the Congress party put up such a weak candidate against Narendra Modi?
I'm amazed at that assessment. I think that we thought hard and deep, and we've come up with, in the circumstances of Varanasi, the best possible candidate that we could have got.
Just a moment. You say you've thought hard and deep. You've come up with a man who came third in 2009. Who for most of his political career has been a BJP MLA. Then he switched to the Samajwadi Party. In fact, people say that his association with your party, the Congress, is not just weak, it's probably questionable. Is he the best you could come up with?
You know, I think this is not an issue. The issue was, who can we get who is part of our party? We're not looking at a family tree. Person who represents our party today in a neighboring seat, he's a very strong person. Everyone admits that. There was widespread demand for him as a local candidate. He is the only local candidate there is today.
Just a moment.
And I believe in the combinations that you get, he is the best that we could have gotten.
Well, just a moment. That's what I'm questioning. You say, given the combination today, it's the best you could have get. And you also began by saying that the key question was, who should we get? And who have you ended up with? A man that the people of Varanasi consider a Bahubali. A man, by his own admission, faces 3 charges of attempted murder, 5 of rioting with deadly weapons, 6 of voluntarily causing hurt. Are you seriously telling me that this is the best the Congress party can get to represent it in Parliament? Because that's a terrible indictment of your party.
It's a terrible indictment of our party, and you also say that he's come from another party. I think, please, don't just throw figures and facts at me. Please understand that each one of this has a background. Each one of this obviously has a context. I didn't hear you say Amit Shah should not have led the campaign for Modi or for the BJP in UP
I
all
don't
these years,
believe you're an admirer of Amit Shah, and I don't believe Amit Shah should set precedents for the Congress party. Suddenly Amit Shah becomes your criteria of judgment.
Not setting precedent. I'm saying it's not setting precedents. I'm not saying that. I am saying that you can't pick up things out of context and say, now please answer this. He is an MLA. You never asked us why he was our MLA. You never asked any other party why he was their MLA. He's been a solid MLA for us. We had widespread demand in Varanasi for him, and that's when we finally settled on him.
Have you forgotten the emphasis Rahul Gandhi has been putting on corruption, on cleaning up politics, of ensuring that in fact the right people are there, and then you pick a man with a track record that is so bizarre that he can be an embarrassment, not an asset, and yet you're defending him.
No, listen. I'm not defending him. I don't need to defend him. We've not done a clandestine operation. This is out in the public. He puts everything that he's accused of, if at all he is, he puts it in an affidavit. It's in front of you. And this is the first time in all these weeks that I've been campaigning that somebody's asking me these questions.
Well, they should have asked you earlier.
It almost seems like you're part of the CBI.
I'm not part of the CBI. I'm part of those who question whether you are putting up the best candidate. And I'll give you another reason why I question. It's not just that this man has jumped.
I will not, Karan, I will not accept a cross-examination. I am saying, I heard you, I've said he's the best candidate. That is our public position. We presented him, and we believe that he will give Modi a run for his money. And when I say money, I do mean the thousands of crores that Modi is spending.
I'm not cross-examining you, but I am actually asserting my right to ask you questions, and some of those I think will be a little awkward.
Please do.
And the question I want to ask is this.
You can't expect me to give you... Sorry, I have given you an answer and you've got to settle with that answer. You like it or you don't like it, but you have to settle with that answer.
Like or dislike is something that is for the audience to judge. It would be presumptive of me to say I don't like your answer. But I want to point something else out to you. It's not just that we're talking of a gentleman who's jumped party to party. We're not just talking of a gentleman who faces heinous accusations, including attempted murder, but we're also talking of someone who's now invited support from Mukhtar Ansari and the Qaumi Ekta Dal. Ansari is another Bahubali. Ansari is in fact accused in the murder of your candidate's brother. What sort of support are you taking and what image are you conveying in Varanasi? Aren't you putting your own campaign into disrepute?
Can we just leave this to the person who may have a personal cause and he has taken a call on this? We are not seeking anyone's support. But there are many people who are supporting us, just as there are many people who are supporting the BJP. We are not here to give you credentials for every individual person who supports us.
Why?
But the facts are there for you.
Why? You want us to vote for them? Why won't you give us their credentials?
What credentials? What credentials? Am I going seeking for support? Have you seen a picture of mine going and seeking support from anybody?
No.
There are thousands of people who support Mukhtar Ansari. There are thousands of people who support other people. Now, if they want to support us, why would you pin it only on one person? And please understand, if you're going to dissect people in Varanasi, please dissect them all over UP, and then I will be happy to answer your question.
But it's very interesting. A party that upholds itself as the clean party, the party that will tackle corruption, and those are Rahul Gandhi's repeated words that probably have been ready. That party is not only putting up a man accused of murder as its representative, but it's accepting support from someone who's accused of murdering his brother. And the people of India say fiction is usually made up of these sort of strange things, not real life, and this is worse than fiction.
No. I think, Karan, you're obviously unfamiliar with the ground situation in UP. And please let me tell you once again, this does not in any way dilute Mr. Rahul Gandhi's commitment for a particular kind of politics in our country and our party. But you know, there is no magic wand by which you can turn things around overnight. Obviously, he is working towards an ultimate aspiration, which he will succeed in achieving, and with obviously some sacrifices as we go along, and certainly some compromises as we go along.
Let's move beyond Ajay Rai, because I don't want to carry out a personal attack on Mr. Rai. I want to instead question whether Congress has actually genuinely found the best candidate for Varanasi or not. And the reason I go back to that key core issue is because at the time when it became known that Mr. Modi was going to be the BJP's candidate from Varanasi, your party said not once but repeatedly that you would put up a formidable candidate yourself. And Digvijay Singh was the first in the line to say he was willing to stand. He's your General Secretary. He's been a two-term Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh. Many people believe he's a strong campaigner. Why did you not put him up?
I can't understand. Now, you're asking me questions on where the decision is taken by the Congress Working Committee. And you're asking me to explain all the details of how a decision is taken. In fact, even if I wanted to tell you, I won't have the information to tell you. You could ask Digvijay Singh, perhaps if he put his name forward, he must have been told something, and perhaps he could share something with you. It's not my job to tell you what Digvijay Singh said and what Digvijay Singh was told.
No, it's not.
I can only tell you that my party clearly.
No, it's not what Digvijay Singh said or what he was told. What I'm pursuing...
Karan, honestly, these questions are making no sense at all, and I don't think that we are getting anywhere by my trying to answer these
just
questions.
A moment. What I'm
these
pursuing,
are not questions for which...
The reason I'm pursuing this question of whether the Congress party has put forward the best possible candidate is because your party is repeatedly saying that stopping Mr. Modi becoming Prime Minister is a very important aim. And I put it to you that if you had put up a candidate that had a chance of defeating him in Varanasi, you could have stopped him. And the one candidate that could have done that for you and given you a huge advantage in this entire campaign is in fact Priyanka Gandhi. She would have galvanized Varanasi. She would have given Mr. Modi a match for his money in that constituency, and most importantly, she would have undermined his national campaign. On all three counts you would have won. Why was she not made your candidate? If defeating Modi is so important, she could have done it.
She's not even in politics. She is only restricting herself to campaigning for her brother, who couldn't be there all the time, and for her mother, who couldn't be all the time because they were campaigning elsewhere in the country. Now, I'm not personal secretary to Srimati Priyanka Gandhi. I cannot give you her reasons for being very, very careful about restricting herself and her role to something specific. We cannot speculate, we cannot demand, and we cannot push. Now, if you think that she was an outstanding candidate, well, thank you very much, but it wasn't physically, it wasn't politically possible, and therefore, I don't think that should be discussing this any further.
You know, you said three very interesting things. We cannot demand and we cannot push. That applied to Amarinder Singh, who didn't want to be candidate from Amritsar. You demanded, Mrs. Gandhi pushed, eventually he had to agree, and he ended up giving Arun Jaitley an incredible fight. Now, why was Mrs. Gandhi unwilling to demand and push the same of her daughter? Her daughter is a member of the Congress party.
Why didn't Mrs. Gandhi? No. She may be a member of the Congress party because by association, families do support political parties that somebody in that family actually leads that party or is participant in the party's affairs. But she is not in public life. Please understand. Categorically, I say to you, she is not in public life, and therefore there is no question of any of the words that you have just used for Mr. Amarinder Singh. Mr. Amarinder Singh is an active politician and a wonderful politician at that, and he was obviously to be persuaded to fight a particular seat, which he's fought admirably well, and I think all's well that ends well.
Well, it hasn't ended as yet, so we don't know if it's all's well. And in fact, as far as Varanasi goes, it may not be all well, which is why I'm having this discussion with you. I can accept that at the end of the day, a mother didn't want to push her daughter. It's another matter when a mother pushes a former chief minister. I can accept that distinction. But if you were reluctant to use the Priyanka card, there were still other ways that you could have put your best foot forward to counter Mr. Modi in Varanasi. And that was, to begin with, support Arvind Kejriwal. Let me quote to you what the Times of India has said today.
Let me finish.
Then you answer. Can I finish? Then you answer.
Please, I don't even want to hear an absurd idea. Please, I don't even want to hear this absurd idea.
But
I think he's the biggest sabotager of democracy in our country. I'm sad that he has support in some parts of the country. Certainly in Delhi, he showed some support. But I am sorry, totally unacceptable for political ethos of our country.
Let me quote the Times of India, which today says, in a situation where in fact Mr. Kejriwal hasn't got himself a straight fight with Narendra Modi, it's at least a three-way, if not a five-way fight. And this is what the paper says. It's a straight fight between Modi and giant killer Kejriwal, regardless of the other people participating. Now, if your party had actually supported him and made it a genuine straight fight, you could have tipped the balance against Mr. Modi. And since your main aim, which you've repeatedly said is to stop Modi, this was a way of doing it.
You want to hear my opinion about that suggestion, the suggestion that Times of India has made? My opinion is one short word: absurd. Absurd. I have been campaigning in Varanasi. I have some idea of what happens on the ground level. I also know the kind of invidious campaign being run by the Aam Aadmi Party. And I am sorry, I do not consider him in the fight. He can be a spoiler, but he's not in the fight.
Let me give you one reason why many people, and not just the Times of India, I'm now talking about analysts, believe that Arvind Kejriwal has a better chance than anyone else of stopping Narendra Modi in Varanasi. 18.7% of that constituency is Muslim. Most of them are tending towards Kejriwal. Another 20% are Banya. That's the community he comes from. 12.5% are Brahmins, and many of them are unhappy that Narendra Modi has replaced Murli Manohar Joshi. Against this specific caste background, a straight fight between Arvind Kejriwal and Narendra Modi could have effectively checked, possibly checkmated Modi. That's the opportunity you've lost. And that's why I come back. If defeating Modi was your intention and ambition, you had a way of doing it, but you didn't take it up.
Can I say two things? One, that I'm ashamed and saddened that you should be talking about politics in this manner, that you are talking about caste and working only along caste. I am sorry, Karan, this doesn't sound good and it doesn't behave you. Secondly, if you want to be a consultant with the Congress party, I'll pass the word on to the Congress Working Committee that for the next elections, Karan would like to tell us how to fight elections.
I wasn't telling you how to fight. I was telling you how you should fulfill your own stated ambition, which is to check Modi. And the question I'm asking is, if checking Modi, stopping Modi was the aim, there are so many better ways of doing it than fielding Ajay Rai.
Not by demeaning ourselves, and not by subjecting ourselves to an analysis that you all the time tell us we must get this country away from.
One last question about Varanasi and the rather peculiar, if not perplexing way in which you are actually trying to take on Mr. Modi, and then I'll come to other broader issues. Your party has now announced that Rahul Gandhi will be campaigning in Varanasi on the last day. It's also now been made clear that Priyanka Gandhi is not going to campaign there at all. Why isn't Rahul Gandhi going there earlier? Why on the last day? Why isn't Priyanka willing to go there, given that she was happy to cross swords and lock horns with Modi from Amethi and from Raebareli? She took him on and challenged him. Why isn't she prepared to go to Varanasi and do it? Why isn't Rahul prepared to go there for longer and do it?
She was defending her home constituency and she was restricting herself to that job. He went intruding into the home constituency, not just intruding in terms of going and seeking votes, but also using the most unpardonable kind of language for some very, very, very distinguished people who've served this country with great distinction. But we leave that as it is. As far as Mr. Rahul Gandhi is concerned, he's been in the air and on the ground every day of the campaign, and he will decide when he wants to match himself against the wits of anybody else.
Absolutely.
You and I cannot decide this.
Absolutely. He has every right to decide when he matches his wits against Narendra Modi, but I'm pointing out to you that he's making the wrong decision. In fact, what I'm pointing out is that your party as a whole has made a wrong decision. And
you've been saying this since we started.
Absolutely, you're right.
Listen, since we started this evening, you've been telling us we've made mistakes. Now, you didn't call me here to tell me that you've made mistakes. My answer to you is, Karan, you are making a mistake, and I want to end this conversation here.
You know, one last question, and then we'll move to a broader issue.
Yeah.
The impression that people in the country have is that in taking on Mr. Modi in Varanasi, you've done it in a very strange way. First, you feel a weak candidate, a candidate that is questioned by the very constituency from whom you want votes. Then you fail to make it a straight fight, because if you had made it a straight fight, you could have had Mr. Modi in a corner. And finally, even though Mr. Modi has come to Amethi and taken on the family, and even though Priyanka has given it right back, neither Priyanka nor Rahul are full-throatedly willing to go to Varanasi and take on Mr. Modi. And people say, rather than make the fight tougher for Modi, you're making it easier. That's what people find so strange about the Congress response.
Why don't we just wait till the 16th of May? I think that your hypothesis and my response is not getting us anywhere, and you are repeating things in different forms, hoping that somewhere I will slip and say yes to something that you're saying. Well, my answer is no, no, and no. So you won't get a yes from me. I'm afraid I have no reason to believe that we are on a weak wicket. I believe we are fighting hard, we are fighting tough. I've been there for 3 days. I expect to get back there tomorrow again, and I don't see any reason to review anything that we are doing because of your impressions.
All right, you said let's wait till May the 16th. I'm happy to do that. Let's in fact talk about what's likely to happen on May the 16th, because leave aside polls. I know the Congress party has made it publicly clear you have no faith in polls. Let's leave them aside. But today we've reached a situation where congressmen, very senior congressmen, some of them, forgive me, even your colleagues in government, admit in private that Congress is going to lose. Now, the key question is this. Will Congress cross 100 seats, or will you fall short and get stuck in double digits? What's your answer to that key question?
My answer is, it's not our job in the elections to speculate. We are fighting to win, and we have the confidence that we will win. I think BJP should be worried, and it's becoming apparent now that they're invoking God, and now that they're going back to their old tricks, that they seem to be worried that they had projected themselves as larger than life, but they're now beginning to dwarf themselves in their own estimates. As far as we are concerned, we are fighting to win. As I told you, 16th of May, we will be there, sharp and hard, right in front of you to see what we've achieved.
Those are, of course, brave words, and I hear them, but for the moment I'm going to discount them. What I want to put to you is this. Most people, including those in your party, believe you're not going to win. So if Congress ends up suffering what many believe could be its worst defeat, would you accept that Rahul Gandhi's credibility would be badly damaged by that outcome?
I'm not here to speculate. I'm not here for hypothetical questions. I told you we are in the battle. We are fighting. He's leading us from the front. And we have full confidence. And we believe that we will turn the tables on you as well. Forget about the BJP and the other parties that are fighting us.
Absolutely. And you have every right to turn the tables on journalists who ask awkward questions. That's a prerogative. And if you get that opportunity, you have every right to use it. But let me ask you this. If Congress suffers a defeat, maybe it would be its worst ever, maybe not. Will Rahul Gandhi continue as vice president? In democracies, a leader who takes his party to defeat usually accepts moral responsibility and steps aside. Is that a tradition that you believe should apply to Congress? Or will Rahul Gandhi continue regardless of the outcome?
I'm not here to rewrite traditions. I am not here to decide for my leaders. I am here to say that we have faith in our leaders and we will continue to fight to the last man standing. Now, I don't know why you seem to wish to see some gruesome thing happen to the Congress party. Karan, I think you're going to be very, very sorry if such a thing were to happen to the Congress party. So just keep your speculation away for a while and let us fight this battle to win. We are determined to win and we will win.
Now, one of the things that people say is likely to happen if Congress doesn't win is that there will be a demand, some say a clamor from your rank and file for Priyanka to play a larger role. Not necessarily in replacing Rahul Gandhi, but alongside him. As one of the elder leaders of the party, how do you think your party should respond to that clamor and demand?
Let's talk about these things if and when we come to them. I don't think that we should be discussing her till such time as she indicates that these discussions are legitimate and proper. I don't think that we should be discussing her. She has a mind of her own and she's articulate and she is more than happy from time to time to let the press know what she thinks about what's happening.
I get the feeling, and I'm admittedly reading between the lines of that answer, that people like Salman Khurshid would be very happy for Priyanka to play a bigger role alongside Rahul, and that no longer do you believe Rahul is the sole leader.
Yes. No. I can say yes to that because a lot of people have over the years felt that she should come in and give greater strength to the rest of the family in a wider spectrum than just those two constituencies. But that's a view that a lot of people hold. That's not a view that we want to articulate here as a formal view, because ultimately the decision has to be the family decision. And she must decide. She has her own nuclear family to look after. She has her own children to look after. She will decide when she feels that she wants to do more than what she's been doing.
Okay.
But the fact that somebody or people are interested in her personality is certainly something that we welcome.
You know, we're talking of a decision that could affect the future of the Congress party. Is it only a family decision? Does the party not have a say in this decision as well? The party rather than just the family?
No, I know. The party can have a say, but the party is not going to be inconsiderate and silly and not be sensitive to family concerns. After all, we have great respect for that family. This family has seen us through 4 generations, and it's not just, it's not just something convenient for us. We have respect for that family. The head of that family, Srimati Sonia Gandhi, is somebody who has led us to this remarkable 10 years of government, and therefore we would want to be considerate, sensitive and careful and respectful for what reasons they may have for doing one thing or the other.
Considerate, sensible and careful. 3 very good words. Many would wonder why you weren't equally careful and sensible in choosing the candidate for Varanasi. You might have had a very different smile on your face if you had a stronger opponent. But let's leave it there.
Let's give up your script.
Let's leave it there. I'm coming around to thanking you rather than taunting you. Thank you very much, Salman Khurshid, for agreeing to speak to me this evening. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
And there we end this particular episode. Goodbye. Good night.